Good evening, good Shabbos, and welcome to our service this evening. Now, the first thing I want to say is you can't always believe what you see. If you are looking at the screen, you will think I am sitting in the sanctuary at Temple Beth Israel on Longboat Key. I'm not. That is an artificial background. It just makes everything look nicer. If I were sitting in the sanctuary right now, that room would be a mess because we are doing serious construction on building an extra exit door for safety reasons. So imagine that you are in the sanctuary. Imagine, let your imaginations go wild. We all have wonderful imaginations when we need to. Think you are there with all your friends and your loved ones, and let us begin our service as we normally do with song, and let us sing Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
We continue now with the Shabbat candle blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
For those of you who have your books with you, I'm on page 9. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if we're a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Page 22, Tov Lehodot.
Mizmor shel Yom HaShabbat, Tov, Tov, Tov lehadot, Tov lehadot l'Adonai, Tov, Tov, Tov lehadot, Tov lehadot l'Adonai, Utzamer l'Shemcha Elyon, l'Shemcha Elyon, Utzamer, Utzamer, l'Shemcha Elyon, Tov, Tov, Tov lehadot, Tov lehadot l'Adonai, Tov, Tov, Tov lehadot, Tov lehadot l'Adonai, להגיד בבוקר חסדיך ואמונתך בלילות, בלילות. טוב, טוב, טוב להדות, טוב להדות לאדוני, טוב, טוב, טוב להדות, טוב להדות לאדוני.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessing, O God. Please turn to page 28 and we rise for the Barchut.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bitbaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvona meshana itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakokavim, v'mishmerotehem barakia kertzono, borei yom v'layla, goder or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla Adonai tzvaot shmo. El chai v'kayam tamid yumloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. On page 32. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated, and we continue with you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way. When you lie down, when you rise up, bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and upon
Page 38. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You perform miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Milchamo. Page 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming, to life and to peace evermore. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. On page 44, we continue with Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ביני
Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. On page 46, please rise for the tefillah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'kanei HaKol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imot, Umevei Gula Levnei Bneihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezarat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah, Rav leHoshia Morid Hatal, Mechalchel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somek Nobilim Verovei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato L'Shen Avar, Mika Mocha Ba'Gevurot, Umidom Elav, Melech Memidom Echayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
Page 52, Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yehalalucha Selah, Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. And we continue on page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 56, Ritzeh.
Ritzei
in the middle of page 59, when we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us, we mortals that you take note of us? You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lechodot. A prayer for peace on page 60. Shalom Rav, grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Baruch atah Adonai, mevorech et amo Yisrael, Shalom. Let us continue with a few moments of private silent prayer.
Oh, say shalom, shalom Avramav. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'emru amen. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom Avramav. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'emru amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei teveinu.
Please turn to page 253, our prayers for healing. We think right now we cannot help but think of all those at Surfside, those who are struggling to remain alive, those who are trying to save them, those who are working for an answer, physical, spiritual, emotional, to all that is going on. It is mind-boggling. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, ve'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill and those who are suffering. Let us mention in particular, we say again, all those at Surfside and all those who are trying to help them. We think of members of our congregational family who could use an extra prayer at this time. Suzanne Ryman, Ralph Einstein, Rabbi Jonathan Katz, Violet Spivak. We think of everyone else who is either suffering or in pain. If there are extra names you want to mention, do so now. Say them out loud to yourself or say them quietly. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us all say amen as we sing together.
May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberuch imotenu, mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We have a special prayer of thanksgiving for those who are no longer in danger. And we say this now on behalf of those who have survived. We say this on behalf of members of our congregation who are feeling better or got good test results this week. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shegimalanu kol tov. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has bestowed every goodness upon us. May the one who has bestowed goodness upon us continue to bestow every goodness upon us forever. Let us turn to page 258, prayers for our community. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer in support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levatcha v'yir'ah avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Let us continue with Avinu Shabashamayim.
Avinu Shabashamayim, sois avec Baruch et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmikat Geulatenu. Again Alecha, Sukkot Shlomecha, Acharecha Chasdecha, Bevrat Chasdecha, Ushloach v'yonecha, L'Rosh Tova Bareket Medinat Israel, Reshit Smecha Geulatenu. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Avenu, Shema Shamayim, deliver them and crown their efforts with triumph. Avenu, Shema Shamayim, Tzor Yisrael Regoanu. Bless our land with peace, O God, and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen. Barik et Medinot Yisrael.
Let me share with you some thoughts of a project that I'm thinking about and how it relates to our prayer book and our Torah reading this week. I have said on many occasions, there is a Jewish way, there are probably multitudes of Jewish ways of reading through the Torah, or in a broader sense, all the books of what we Jews consider the Bible. I'm not thinking in theological terms right now. I'm thinking about words, expressions, sentences that would be of significance and relevance, or at least things that we Jews would recognize that may not stand out to others, for the simple reason that we're used to hearing them in other contexts, primarily in our religious services. Now, this week, we read an absolutely fantastic, and I say the word fantastic in the sense of fantasy, story, where somebody who is a professional maker, bestower of curses, is hired to curse the people of Israel, and he ends up asking God not to curse, but to bless. And in his words of praise, these are the words that are said, and you will recognize them, I imagine. Page 74, Shabbat morning service, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. I'm going to translate this somewhat differently from the way our prayer book does it. Ma tovu ohalecha, how goodly are your tents. This says, how fair are your tents. So Jacob, I want to say goodly, tov, good, it makes sense. Mishkenotecha, your dwelling places, O Israel. Now, I am convinced that I first heard these words in the prayer book, not in the Torah reading. Because I guess, going back to my youth, who knows, who remembers when we first hear these things? But if I read this week's Torah reading, and following the tradition that you're supposed to read it and prepare and review, I would read those words, Ma tovu, in a different sense, because I would immediately relate those words to the prayer book. I have other examples. One of them I have pointed out on every occasion, that our Haftorah reading ends on a negative note. Now, we're not supposed to do that. So what did the rabbis say? You read that last sentence that may have a negative aspect to it, and then read the second last sentence again so you can end on a positive note. That is a Jewish reading. You wouldn't find that in any other reading. And in the Jewish Publication Society edition of the Bible, of the Tanakh, the Hebrew and the English text at the ends of certain books will have those second last sentences repeated. I'm going to give another example from my own experience in trying to teach. I once tried to teach a course in what was called Hebrew Bible. It was for college students. And I tried to point out, among other things, that not everything in the Bible says the same thing. One of the points I wanted to make is that in some parts we read that if you misbehave, you're going to be punished and you're going to suffer, which could lead somebody to conclude that if you are suffering, therefore you've misbehaved. And that's in Deuteronomy. And the opposite, the challenge to that, maybe challenge is better than opposite, in Job. Job's suffering, his friends say you must have misbehaved. We know he didn't, and it's challenging the idea of cause and effect. So in my innocence, I suggested the students read the book of Deuteronomy. Well, how foolish that was, because nobody's going to sit down and read the book of Deuteronomy. It's too long, and they'd probably miss the point I'm trying to make anyway. So I decided to pick out a special passage. And I took a passage from the 11th chapter of Deuteronomy. If you obey all my commandments, all will go well with you, and the skies will open up and rain will come down, and the crops will grow and your animals will reproduce and all of that. Now, why did I pick the 11th chapter? It comes from my Jewish background. If we were to look at a traditional prayer book, and remember, our prayer book is abbreviated. That is, I think, a good way of putting it. We, in the Reform movement, for the most part, have left out that second paragraph after Shema Yisrael. We have Ve'ahavta, but that second paragraph is left out. Maybe we don't like the idea of cause and effect and reward and punishment. Interestingly enough, in the most recent edition of the Reformed Prayer Book published in Israel, and it's only a few months old, that paragraph is there. We left it out. Now we're going to open up another aspect of Jewish education. I used to do this with religious school kids. I used photocopying machines. We all know what those things are. And I photocopied on one page what the text that you have in a mezuzah is. I opened up a mezuzah, photocopied the Hebrew text, and put on the same page an English translation. Now, what is in the mezuzah? Shema Yisrael, Ve'ahavta, V'haya im Shema, if you observe God's commandments and so forth. Now, I know these passages, or I should say, I think I was initially exposed to these passages. When do you learn things and in which order? In the prayer book and in knowing what is in a mezuzah. One of my most interesting educational experiences, and I must have been extraordinarily young at the time, when one of my grandfathers had to put up a mezuzah, and before he did so, he unrolled the parchment so he could roll it up again and then put it in the container, and insisted that I look over his shoulder as he reviewed the text so I would know what's in there. In a way, it's demystifying what we do as Jews. But I knew these words ahead of time. So what I'm trying to say is this: we have an unbelievably fascinating cultural history. Whether you believe a word of this or not, and I certainly do, don't get the wrong impression, but even so, the idea that we have taken texts that are ancient and we have used them in contemporary situations. So when we do Ma Tovu Ohalecha Yaakov, and the music's beautiful and the words sound nice, we are taking out of context to be sure, words from this week's Torah reading. And in our Torah study tomorrow morning, I hope to share with you on just a simple level how we have understood those words. And ohelecha, and ohel is a tent, okay? But a tent from a Jewish, or I should say a rabbinic perspective, is a synagogue or a house of study. We have a beautiful heritage, which I have enjoyed, and I mean that in every sense of the word, intellectually enjoyed, spiritually enjoyed, emotionally enjoyed throughout my entire life, learning more about it. Now, before I conclude these words, I want to say something. I'm very conscious again, as I said at the beginning of the service, that behind me is an artificial background. If any of you, and I'm sure many of you have, if not all of you, have been in a television studio, the background is often artificial. Sometimes the reporter, he's wearing a nice jacket and tie and shirt, but he's wearing blue jeans or shorts while he's reading the news. I'm not wearing shorts, I'm not wearing blue jeans. That's another story. But the situation that we're facing right now, while our sanctuary is being repaired, I look forward as soon as possible to being back in our building, working backwards. We're going to be there, and I have to be an optimist. I'm sorry I couldn't function otherwise. We will be there for the high holidays, beginning of September. Erev Rosh Hashanah is Labor Day. In August, I expect and hope, and when I say in the sanctuary, I mean with our music, with our organ, with our new technical equipment and technicians and live streaming in August. And although I'm supposed to be on vacation in July, and I'm supposed to announce something about that, the last Shabbat of July, there are 5 Fridays in July this year, by the way, I want to do an experiment. You're all cordially invited, and I'll send out an e-blast or something just to join me, however we're going to pull it off, for a service in the sanctuary. Now, I'm supposed to be on vacation in July. I don't want everything to disappear, fall apart. It's unfair to ask other rabbis to come in and lead services while I'm gone because of all the technical issues. We are going to pre-record Friday night services, and they'll be available on YouTube and Facebook, and pre-record Shabbat morning Torah study as well. Facebook and YouTube will announce all of this week by week in the e-blasts as well. So I just want all of you to know this, and I want also to take this opportunity to thank everybody for their good spirits through these past 15 and a half months, where we've basically been in a kind of spiritual exile away from our spiritual home. May we get back in there very, very soon. And may we be given the strength to rejoice that we survived while so many others sadly didn't through this horrendous experience. Let us now turn to page 283. Please rise for the adoration.
Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'bodim lifnei melech makei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
be seated. A prayer before the Kaddish. I'm on page 292. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those above us. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wish to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. We remember the recently departed Kurt Einstein, Jerry Saul, Joshua Haran, Ronald Lebo, Sophie Pollock, Lee Black, Martin Ross, Al Grossman, Norman Gross, Florence Haar, B. Einstein, Dolores Scholdinger, Judith Nelson Feldman, and we think also of all those who perished at Surfside. We mention those whose yahrzeits occur at this time: Edwin Godden, Max Granowitz, Cloris Herr, Jackson Horowitz, Sadie Lefkowitz, Rona Levitt, Ellen Marcus, Mitchell Robiner, Dorothy Schmirer, Ann Seufer, Joseph Tobias, Irving Vogel. And we mention also everyone else whose loss is felt so strongly at this time. And let us turn to page 294 as we rise for the Kaddish. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach cherutei ve'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael Bagala ubisman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'trumam ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'ytalei ve'ytalal shmei dekutsha brichu le'ela min kol berchata ve'shirata tushbachata ve'nechamata Damiran ve'alma ve'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. May the source of peace grant peace unto those who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us. And let us all say, amen. Please be seated. And I want to call on Stuart Sinai, the president of our congregation, for a few announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi. And thank all of you for being with us tonight. Rabbi, I want to thank you for your most interesting comments tonight. Quite challenging, really, to understand what the words in our Bible really mean. I think perhaps that meaning changes a bit as we go from generation to generation. And we certainly are all looking forward to opening up a test, whether it's the last Friday in July or the first in August. We certainly will be open up, so we hope, during August, including ONEGs afterwards. So we're all looking very much forward to that. Ann and Kai.
She's coming.
Okay, Ann and Kai. Ann, I want to tell you that your music touches us all, our very soul.
Thank you.
It's comforting. It's serene. It's beautiful.
They're good songs.
And especially for those of us who've lost somebody in the last year, it's just special. It's special to be here. So thank you.
Thank you.
You've received recently, it was mailed out a few days ago, we just got ours today, the high holiday letters. So please pay attention to them, fill them out, please volunteer to do something, read something, an Aliyah, carry something, read something, be a greeter, anything that sort of fits your comfort zone. Please participate. And also, most importantly, try to come to all the services. So we have a good crowd there, especially after this pandemic year. And for Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah, as you know, we've always had a luncheon afterwards. And of course, we didn't have it last year, but this year we're planning it. We're planning to have a luncheon at Europa following Rosh Hashanah day. And it will be at 1:30. You'll be getting notice of it. Please try to come to that too. And as you know, and as if you've heard, the activities are being planned. And we have a lot going on. We have the Education Center. We have the Eisenstadt Mini University. We have 92Y. We have the STILL programs. We have so many programs that our temple is going to be busy, occupied with people running in and out of the place all week. So try to participate in all that if you can. With regard to the choir, by the way, there's a choir call, as we in the industry, music industry say. You can see I'm in the music industry. The conga's back there. And one doesn't know how to read music. One doesn't know how to read Hebrew because everything's in transliteration. One doesn't even need to have a very good voice because you just sort of blend in. So it may include a lot of you. And the professional, you just sort of join in with the professionals. It's great fun, as my Carol will testify. She loves being part of the choir. And so if any of you are so inclined, Anne is looking for you.
I am. I'm looking for you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Anne.
And Carol's testimony, what a good time you can have in choir sitting on the back row with the tenors. Yeah, she has a good time.
Don't forget services tomorrow at 10. The rabbi class is this week, right, Rabbi?
Yes, Tuesday this week, yes.
And then you won't be having a
I
class.
won't be having the class over July. No.
Right, it'll start up again on August.
Yeah.
10th.
Yeah.
And so our gala, by the way, is already being planned. That's February 27th. And as in the past, that should be a beautiful event. So that's about it from me, everyone. Have a good Shabbat and be healthy and safe. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank everyone. I thank everyone for being with us. Apologies for any typos on anything I sent out earlier. I think we are concluding now with the sing of Salam Kiva Moed.
Here we go.
Okay, so salam. All right, so here we go.
Odiva shalom aleinu, odiva shalom aleinu, odiva shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Odiva shalom aleinu, odiva shalom aleinu, odiva shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kulam.
have a peaceful and restful and happy and safe Shabbat. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'necha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless us by protecting us. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.
Ralph, good Shabbos.